Good morning, Sarah.
Good morning, Fleet.
How are you this morning?
I am getting in the swing of things. How about you?
I'm good. I got a good night's sleep last night for the first night during in a little while here. So I'm very happy. I feel refreshed and renewed. I'm really excited about uh, everything on the summit today, on the Global Resilience Summit.
Mm-hmm. I've got secretly, I've been looking forward to the presentations today, most of any of them. Some of the speakers today have been my favorite for a long time, such as Tara Branch. So I'm really excited to watch the videos.
Yeah, Tara Brach is the first one listed there. So I know Tara Brach is incredibly popular. So I'm sure people are going to enjoy that. And I remember the conversation. It was a really wonderful conversation. Not only focusing on her model of radical compassion, but really getting into some of the justice issues and the equitability issues and the access issues that we really need to look at in terms of what's going on in our society and the privilege so many of us experience in terms of being able to self-regulate and having access to tools and teaching and so forth, and then the access that so many people lack for reasons that are related to uh, inequitable structures in our society and so forth. So she addressed that quite a bit. It's a wonderful conversation.
Yeah, I really appreciate how we're moving from this individual resilience to now more collective to, in the next couple of days, even more societal. So it feels like this is really expanding out. And I know that people watching, like you're from all different walks of life and may have all different experiences. Over on the interactive site yesterday, I was talking with school teachers and students and, engineers and authentic relators and people from all over the place, health professionals. So hopefully this will be a chance to get yet another view on what's happening and what you can do.
Yeah, really one of the really kind of calls to action I want to put out is for people to really join the interactive site. There's currently a little over 3,600 people. We have close to 31,000 wonderful human beings registered in the Global Resilience Summit right now. And about 3,600 registered on the interactive site. And we'd love to see a lot more folks go over and register for the interactive site, but then get over there and really engage in the circling processes, the authentic relating games, other dialogue processes available there, network with each other, get involved and organize your own discussions. And then, of course, this film festival is just amazing. I've been able to watch a lot of these films, and the whole series of the Buddhist Tzu Chi Foundation films are just so compelling around issues of homelessness and death and dying and various justice issues and prison and I mean they do amazing work around the world. Buddhist Tzu Chi Foundation, they have 10 million volunteers, and they are there at every major disaster all over the world supporting people. Anyway, they have these amazing films and so many other great films that are showing there, and you're getting little clips from the new film, The Mindfulness Movement, which will have its online premiere this Friday, and you'll have a chance to be in dialogue with Rob Beamer, the director. And this is the film that was produced. The executive producers were Deepak Chopra and the recording artist Jewel, and it covers the whole mindfulness movement, like everybody involved in that movement, everybody you've ever heard of. It shows all of their work. It's really an amazing film, and that's going to be premiere here in the Global Resilience Summit Film Festival this Friday evening.
Yeah, that's amazing. And one of the speakers today is from the Tzu Chi Foundation, right?
That's right. Yeah, Dr. Han Huang. He's the executive vice president of Tzu Chi USA. Tzu Chi is a global organization. He's executive vice president in the USA. And, even just his story is amazing and actually quite interesting. I think he's like a biochemist. Anyway, he understands a lot about the background of what's going on with this pandemic. But he went from his career to volunteering with Tzu Chi and worked his way up it's a whole volunteer organization. And he was one point he served as the president of Tzu Chi USA for quite a few years, and then let somebody else step in that role, and he continued serving as the executive vice president. So the dedication of the Tzu Chi volunteers is amazing. And the amazing story is that this was started by a Buddhist nun in Taiwan who wanted to start making a difference. A Buddhist nun living in a monastery in Taiwan. And she organized 30 housewives in the local neighborhood and they had these cans where they would just put in pennies, kind of like you see on, sometimes at the grocery store where we're raising money for the March of Dimes or that kind of thing. So housewives would put like the equivalent of about 2 pennies each day in their little can and accumulating funds for relief efforts. And it grew and grew and grew and grew. That was about 50 years ago, starting with 30 housewives and these pennies. Today, 10 million volunteers all over the globe. They do relief efforts in something like 97 countries. They have offices and organizations in 45, 47 countries. And, if you think, the earthquake in Nepal, the earthquake in Haiti, Katrina, every kind of major uh, global weather disaster, the Rohingya refugee situation, they're there. They're there on the ground and they're providing people with food and blankets and protective gear. And one of the things they've been doing during this pandemic is they've been getting protective gear from Taiwan and distributing it all around the world to more than 45 countries so far, I think. Quite amazing organization. So Dr. Han Huang will be there to tell us about that.
Yeah, and that's really the theme for today, is building communities of care and resilience. So all of the videos are centered around that. And really, like, in the last couple of months, since quarantine has started, community has become a real buzzword. But even before that, like, we have global communities, like, and we have countries and governments, and like kind of what are our more national and large scale communities. But also, like, one of the things that I really hear keeping people going during all of this is like your local community, the friend groups
Yep.
that you're part of, and like the neighborhoods that you're in, the women's groups, the men's groups, the work communities. All of this are really like how people are starting to self-organize in times of crisis. And so a lot of my attention really over the last couple of years has been, how do we build and sustain these communities such that we don't constantly have to do everything ourselves? We can share resources, we can share ideas, we can share needs. So I'm really looking forward to today for this exploration of like, how do we minimize the degree of stress on any one of us by maximizing the degree of support? And the question that I wanted to ask to start us out this morning, that I'll ask of me and Fleet, and then I invite you to consider as well, is like, in what ways have you most supported or been supported by a community in the last couple months?
You want me to start?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Let's see.
First.
Well, I feel very blessed and privileged to be part of two uh, fairly global meditation Dharma communities. The global Shambhala community has been my root lineage and tradition for something like 40, 45 years, I think. And we have centers all around the world, and we have a local community that with our place is just about 10 minutes from where I live, although we're not going there at the moment. We're connecting online. So my partner Sophie and I are offering a class every Thursday evening for our local center. And but anyway, just being part of that community, both locally here, and then being able to plug into it nationally and globally has been a huge resource for me. And we're all connecting on Zoom, so I have been on Zoom a lot during these last several months with my fellow Shambhala community members, both locally and globally. And then I'm also part of the Zen Peacemaker Order and Zen Peacemaker International. And this is the Zen tradition that I've studied in and practiced in for many years with my teacher, Roshi Bernie Glassman. And so I'm connected with folks all over the US and especially a lot in Europe. And so we've been in touch on Zoom and having Zoom calls and so forth. So that's been very supportive. And then, just here, community also I think a lot of us are getting more in touch with our families. Um, uh, I'm from St. Louis, Missouri, and I'm the only one that left. I'm definitely kind of the black sheep of the family. And I have an older brother and three younger sisters, and they have a lot of kids and grandkids, and they're all still in St. Louis, very much St. Louis people. And, I usually go there on Thanksgiving and we exchange a text, an email here or there. but actually we've been more in touch during this, and we've had a number of Zoom calls, which we had never done before. And so connecting with family, and that's been very rich. And then even just in my neighborhood, kind of at a distance, a lot of waving to neighbors, and even emailing and texting and seeing how the neighbors are doing. So getting connected up more in my neighborhood. Then Sophie and I have been really making an effort to connect in our neighborhood more than we have in the past.
Mm, yeah, I love that. I love that progression of like what has happened in your wider communities that existed before and how those positioned online, and then what is happening just like right here at home. Um, let's see. For me, like community's been a bit of a weird thing during all this because I'm usually a community leader really, and during pandemic, I'm also like a pretty serious extrovert, so having all of a sudden my friends and communities go away is like put me into like a pretty intense state of depression. And so trying to extend to like be part of community and find workarounds, I've noticed my energy being lower, and so it's made me focus on the communities and the people that feel most rejuvenating and important to me, because I just don't have energy for much else. And so it's actually been really lovely to see the groups that have kind of naturally gathered to support each other and have self-sustained. Um, Towards the start of the pandemic, when I put together a group of the households that had been closest with each other before quarantine hit. Not only the people that had been most connected, but there were like a couple clusters of different houses, and put us all on like on a spreadsheet together. Had people tracking like what is their level of quarantine, what are their needs, and the spreadsheet didn't really keep up. But I'd also created a Facebook group, and that's really like actually stayed active. And one of our community members stepped up and started just hosting a call every Friday for anyone that wanted to show up, and has kept iterating, like asking like, is this working for people, what do you want? We found Cards Against Humanity and different games that we can play online together, and have been checking in with each other. And even that like little bit of normalcy and feeling my community members has been really sweet. And like my women's group also there's been like a lot of iterating, like, okay, like does this work, like the same way we were meeting before work for us? Okay, if it doesn't, like, do we want to meet one-on-one instead? Who needs support? And to me, that's kind of what community is like these small clusters that become larger clusters, but that process of constantly checking in, seeing if other people are okay. And that's really kept me going, and my family started doing that stronger than ever. My grandma died a couple of weeks ago, right towards the start of all of this. And it actually, like, as sad as it was, some members of my family gathered for it. Me, my mom, and my brother. There's no way we would have been able to get together otherwise. But that was a catalyst. And then after that, like, I'm calling my brother every day now. And we've never had a relationship like that before. Like, we didn't grow up together. And, my mom and I are checking in more regularly. And there's a kind of like interweaving out of necessity that we're all putting an effort to sustain. That's happening. And then there's a wider level of that happening among like the facilitators of different online connection events and communities. But I think I've been considering like what causes community to continue, and been really struck by how much like the small actions of someone reaching out to me or reaching out to someone else or just making the choice to keep engaging is having such a big difference. So
Yeah, wow, that's all amazing. And I think this you're an extrovert, I'm more of an introvert by nature, and I don't know if there's been any studies done yet, but I suspect this whole time of self-quarantine is probably easier on the introverts than it is on the extroverts.
all of
Um,
my introvert friends are like, I hope this never ends.
yeah, exactly. I'm engaging a lot, but I can titrate my level of engagement, right? It's not, yeah. And you mentioned the Facebook group. I just wanted to mention that we do now have a Facebook group for the Global Resilience Summit. It was at the very bottom of the email you all received. And by the way, you all are receiving an email every morning at 7 a.m. that gives you the link to the day's page, and which you can also navigate to always from globalresiliencesummit.org/headquarters. I hope you have that bookmark because you can always get to all the days from there, at least the days that are still available. Day one is no longer available. It was available for 48 hours. That's passed. Day two is still available until tomorrow morning at 7 a.m. And the videos that just went live this morning at 7 a.m. Eastern, the day three videos, Tara Brock and all the rest of them, will be available now for 48 hours, at least from early this morning. And but anyway, on the headquarters page, you'll see a button there where you can click and join the. If you're active on Facebook, if you like Facebook, you can you can press that button and go to the Facebook group and join it. Or it was at the bottom of that email that went out at 7 a.m. this morning. And we really appreciate to hear your experience and your comments over there because we really want to hear from all of you and hear what you're liking about the summit and what you're learning and what your experiences are. So please do jump in, whether you share that over on the Interactive Summit side or you use the Facebook group, but please do share your experiences.
And that is my challenge for today, is find some way of engaging either with this community or the communities around you. Send one message to someone in your life that you think could use a hand right now, or to a community that you're trying to sustain. Join the Facebook group and share an experience, or come over to the interactive site and just like look in on one event, send one message in chat. Join me, in the open discussion space at, I guess it would be 2 o'clock Eastern, where I'm just holding discussions about what the summit so far. Taking those little steps to engage with community, even if you're not feeling super energized. And I definitely know that state can get you out of whatever bubble that you've been in. And I think our speakers today also have some really beautiful things to say about that.
Yeah, and I want to give a shout out to every day there's a new um, uh, daily resilience challenge practice, right? And that's at the top of every day. And so the one today for day three is from Sara. And I really want you to check that out. Sara went through something really important in terms of kind of three levels of how we can work with challenges in the relational field. When we find ourselves getting triggered, and any of us that have any relationships, we experience getting triggered sometimes, right? Somebody says something or this happens and our threat systems get alerted and we're afraid we're not going to get our needs met and it's off to the races. So Sara gave a brilliant talk there or teaching or practice on how three different levels of how we can work with that very effectively. And it's really at the core of how do we co-regulate, because there's always going to be ripples in a relational field. Sometimes there's going to be big ripples and in our ability to hang in there and co-regulate and get things back into a workable flow is really how we sustain the power of relationship and resilience in our relationships. So please check that out. And then also right next to that, you'll see the speakers resilience day three. And that's going to be there in every day. I hope you caught the ones from day two and day one, where our speakers for today, Tara Brock and all the rest of you, Lieutenant Richard Gerling and all the rest of Dr. Han Huang and the others, it's just a short piece. It's, I think, 6 or 7 minutes long, but they're talking about what do they do to stay resilient, right? So it's one thing for them to talk about resilience on these main video presentations, but here they're actually talking about what they really do, where the rubber meets the road in their own lives. And it's short, it's 6 or 7 minutes. I think it's really great. And it has some nice music that goes with it. So check those out. Please check both of those out. And then, of course, you can just start beginning to watch the videos. And as Sara said, at least watch one video today. And I would really encourage you, if you can only pick one, watch one all the way through, right? Just pick one video and actually sit down, make yourself a cup of tea or something, or grab a cup of coffee and just sit down, try to, shut everything off and just really sit and fully listen to one of these amazing conversations. I think that would be a good challenge for today. And of course, if you have time to do more, that's great. But sometimes we get into this kind of the modern world speedy thing. Oh, I'll check that one. Oh, I saw 5 minutes. Okay. I'll look at that. Oh, okay, 2 minutes. Oh, I got to run to this. Oh, I'll look at three. And so we end up, and this is not a criticism because I do it too. We all get caught up in this of kind of being up here on the surface. So, I think the challenge would be, carve out some time today, whenever you can, to just stop, turn everything else off, and at least watch one of these conversations all the way through.
Mhm. And I think that to me is kind of like a beautiful statement on what community and community resilience is. Like, it requires slowing down enough to be present for yourself and the people around you and the communities that you're part of. And it's kind of the blessing of this quarantine in a way, or has been for me, is the requirement to slow down a bit. There's not as much FOMO, there's not as much going on. Like, most of us can spend a couple minutes at home and just pause and breathe and listen to something impactful. If you want to like fold laundry or, you know, make some food while you're doing it, that's fine. But see if you can slow down for a moment today. Some of our speakers have remarkably soothing voices, so you might find yourself actually feeling more relaxed after watching one.
Absolutely. And this is something you can do with your family as well. You know, pick one, you know, if, whatever your family situation is, if you're part of a couple and there's just the two of you, or if you have kids or whatever the situation is, but pick one you think everybody would be interested in. And the good news, you can watch it any time of day or night. And so pick a time, gather your family or gather with your partner and just really sit down and watch one together. That could be a, you know, a great learning, and then talk about it, you know, watch it and then have a discussion about it. You know, that could be really powerful. And, you know, if you're kind of the person that operates online and so forth, you could go over on Facebook and create a watch party with some of your friends, or, you know, other ways to create community. And again, I would just really like to invite all of us, you know, I'm so happy with all you wonderful human beings who have enrolled for this summit and who are enjoying this amazing content, because really the whole purpose here is to catalyze a conversation about our need to develop the individual, relational, collective, cultural, systemic resilience we need to meet the incredible challenges we're facing today with the pandemic, climate emergency, and, you know, it's going to get worse before it gets better. I'm sorry to say that, but you know, if you just look at what's going on and the people that really know, there's a lot of serious disruptions coming our way in the coming decades, the coming years and decades, even the coming months, perhaps. And so our ability to meet that with skillfulness, with our best selves, with wisdom and compassion and skillfulness, rather than falling into fear and survival-based reactivity and the aggression and chaos that can ensue from that, you know, it really depends on our individual and collective and systemic resilience. So for me, it's just a critical conversation for us all to be having. So it's just, again, a call to action. Please take the registration site and send it out to your networks, your close friends. Say, please come join me on this. And it's not too late at all for them to jump in and to enjoy the summit. And we would love to, you know, triple, quadruple the number. Not because we want to have a big summit, but just because it's so important to reach as many people as possible with this question, with this conversation, and all these amazing presenters who are able to take us really deep on the journey of exploring what does it mean to be resilient, individually, collectively, socially, and so forth.
Yeah, I think of it sometimes as like, if everything is energy, including how much capacity we have to do different things, our energy gets sapped by things like self-doubt, uncertainty, lack of connection. There's, you know, external events, and when that happens, it gets a lot harder to lead our lives in the way that we want, to relate with others in the way that we want, to support community, to support ourselves. And it can feel from that place like there's not much you can do to move forward. um, and so like it really takes a force of effort to do something sometimes, like even click a video or even like show up to some place where you might see someone else, like the interactive site. But then I think you might find that there's some places that you can replenish your energy, either by discovering a new practice that you can try, or by like just seeing somebody's face on a screen, like over in the interactive site. I was exhausted yesterday after, you know, kind of working at both ends of the night to on the summit and also on some other projects. And I noticed that just like coming on for the discussion at 1 o'clock, and some of my friends' authentic relating games in the evening, like just seeing somebody's face, hearing somebody talk, like hearing some hopefulness, even in people that have been struggling in really difficult situations. It was like, oh, okay, that gives a little bit of energy back to me, and then I can give a little more energy back to other people. So see what energy you can find from all of this and what energy you can share.
Great. Well, Sarah, I'd like you to talk a little bit more about what's going on in the Interactive Summit today. But first, I'd like to just quickly just go through our speakers today. Just give all of you an orientation around what you can enjoy today. And you know, it's important to really go all the way down through the list of speakers. There's 7 speakers today, and we noticed on the first day that because we can track the number of views. We see these are all housed on Vimeo. So on Vimeo, we can see how many people are viewing each video. And the number of views went smaller as you got down. So I think just our human tendency, we don't make it all the way to the bottom of the page. So please make sure you explore it all today. I think in day one, Rick Hansen, who obviously is very popular, had the highest number of views, and that makes a lot of sense. He's wonderful. And I think a lot of people enjoyed Nikki Meyer. She was amazing. I haven't looked at the data from yesterday with all these incredible trauma experts, but I hope that they were all amazing, as are our presenters today. So today we have Tara Brock, who we mentioned before, and I'm sure, I wouldn't be surprised if she has the highest number of views. She's incredibly popular Buddhist teacher and psychologist and just wisdom teacher and spiritual teacher for a good reason, because she's amazing. She's just really, really wonderful. And as I mentioned before, she's going into subjects around community and relational resilience and the justice issues involved in that, but also the how to overcome our shame and working with vulnerability in a positive way and things like this. Then we have Richard Galing, who's a retired Coast Guard commander and police lieutenant who was on the cover of Mindful magazine a few years ago because he started one of the early mindfulness programs in law enforcement in Hillsboro, Oregon. And he's quite an amazing guy, and he's really, we work together a lot to get mindfulness and mindfulness-based resiliency practices into the first responder world. And so it's a really fascinating conversation. It'll give you an inside view of what is the world of first responders and police like. What's their culture like? And of course, they're on the front lines right now, and they're really, I'm on calls 2 or 3 times a week with public safety officials and talking about their agencies and what their people are going through. And they are at high risk right now, and they're in a state of traumatic stress, and they're out there keeping the rest of us safe. So I think it gives you a real window into that. Uh, Joanna Hardy is an amazing Vipassana teacher, and she's just so real. She talks about being at home with her household of 6, which includes her husband and her kids and the dogs and everything they're doing. And she is a tireless worker for humanity. She serves at such a high level, and she's just an amazing meditation teacher. And she also talks about a lot about the justice issues that we really need to focus on around social justice and racial justice and all the inequities. And if you can't have a resilient society that's full of inequity and injustices. So, doing that work and not from a place of shame or blame, but just what do we need to do to develop a society that is much more equitable and that we overcome all the different types of bigotry and prejudice and racism. And we really develop a society where everyone is valued and we can all connect with each other and value each other. And, that's the work towards societal and social resilience. So she is a really powerful voice there. I mentioned Dr. Han Huang from Tzu Chi before. And then my friend Gabriel Cram, who's an amazing leader in the mindfulness world, the mindfulness-based emotional intelligence world. I knew him when he was at Mind Body Awareness, an organization that does amazing work with incarcerated juveniles in all around the San Francisco Bay Area. And then he moved on to start another organization called Applied Mindfulness. And now they have this whole focus on reflective practices. And you met him the other day if you watched the Stephen Porges video, because Gabriel interviewed Stephen Porges for day 2. And now on this day, I'm interviewing Gabriel about his work, which is really amazing. It's very deep, and he focuses a lot on polyvagal theory. It really informs the work he does, but some really deep work around community and reflective practices. And then Melly O'Brien is been known as Mrs. Mindfulness. She and her work partner Matt, they put on a mindfulness summit 5 years ago. They had 300,000 participants. I mean, just amazing. Nobody had ever done anything like that. And they just recently launched mindfulness.com, an amazing online platform and app. And so she's a yoga teacher and a mindfulness teacher and a mindful kind of right livelihood entrepreneur who's creating tremendous value in the world. And then finally, a really important one for today, and he's at the bottom of the list there, just because they're all in alphabetical order. That's all the presenters each day are listed in alphabetical order. So Dr. Ron Siegel is really the leader in the movement of integrating psychotherapy and mindfulness. And it's a really wonderful conversation about, how do we create communities of care and resilience from a deep perspective, both in psychotherapy and in mindfulness. So Dr. Ron Siegel is just amazing. It does amazing work. So please make sure you go through all of it, and you probably won't be able to watch all of them today unless you have a lot of time, which is why we have the resource package available with lifetime access. But really scan through and see which ones are the ones that you really think you want to watch, will get the most value from. And really, as I said before, and as Sara said, let's slow down, take some time, and at least really fully watch one of these today. So Sara, can you update us a little bit on what's going to be happening over on the interactive summit side today?
Absolutely. And I just got some really good information in
Whoop,
about.
I think we lost your
Oh,
sound. There we go. You're back.
okay. Yeah, I just got some great information in also about some special things that we have coming in today. So over on the interactive site, every day there are events happening from 12 to 2 and 7 to 9 Eastern that are interactive. And then in between those, there are film festival and the videos of our presenters also showing. So if you want to have like kind of a live watch party, you can hang out in there on the main stage and see that. And then we've got a couple of special things going on. For one thing, in the film festival, which is happening between, I'm just doing time conversion in my head real quick, between 2:30 and 4:30, and then again between 9 and 11 Eastern time. We've got the films Second Chances, Compassionate Hearts, Ernesto's Miracle, Path to Freedom, and Last Stop Before Hell playing. And so you can see those at 2 different times. And then along with authentic relating games and circling with several different facilitators, we've got 2 special sessions. One of them, Gabriel Cram will be leading a restorative practices session at 12 Eastern time. So just a couple hours from now. So definitely go and check that out. And some of my friends from Listenly, which is a really wonderful connective co-counseling practice, like a basically paired empathy practice, and they'll teach you how to hold space really effectively for each other in a really simple way. They're leading a special listening lab at 1 o'clock Eastern, so right after Gabriel finishes. So definitely go and check out those. And then at 7 o'clock, Aaron Hickok is going to be leading Cards for Connection, which is a card game that you can do to connect more deeply with your friends and family. So a couple special sessions in there, and then also authentic relating and circling that are running it at the usual times. So yeah, go ahead, check it out. Especially Cards for Connection is going to be one that I'm sure you can pop in, play a game, pop out and do something else. And then you're always welcome over at networking to come in and just connect with someone else. And at the expo, we have booths for all of the different speakers and presenters. So if you want to check out their work, you can click in there. And if you click on somebody's booth, it'll show you a video. It'll show you a way to get access to some of their work. Many of them have special discounts running specifically for this event. So again, come in at reception. If you scroll down the page, it'll show you a schedule. You can go to the live stage portion and watch what films are showing at the time. You can go to sessions and hop into the 3 first sessions on the page. Like the big blocks are ones where events are happening. And you can go into networking to meet someone, or into the expo to see what our presenters and hosts are up to.
Great. Thank you, Sara. And your voice was breaking up a little bit with the transmission on when you read the films. Could you just read those slowly again, the films? And the films are at 2:30. They'll be showing today at 2:30 Eastern time, and again in the evening at 9 p.m. Eastern time. So
Yeah,
could you just read through those again?
absolutely. Teach me not to update my computer overnight. The films are Second Chances, Compassionate Hearts, Ernesto's Miracle, Path to Freedom, and Last Stop Before Hell.
I think you can recognize some themes in there. These are films about resilience and about redemption and about people dealing with incredibly challenging situations, and through those challenges, moving into growth, into post-traumatic growth, and through, just amazing stories of really of human beings in some of the toughest challenges, and then finding their way through to incredible growth and service in the world. So please check those out.
Yeah. And just speaking of community today and thinking of the Interactive Summit, I just want to give a call out to the people that are working on the team to make this whole summit happen. Fleet, of course, and his partner, Sophie, Eric Ukelevics, who's working on the site, and myself, Joff, who's putting the whole interactive site together. And I actually don't know the other four personally, so maybe you can say what roles that they're in. Fleet.
Yeah, sure. Well, I really want to give a shout out to Josh Ukelevich, because, he's done the lion's share of getting all this online and this whole site, making this all happen on the main summit side. And he's just been working tirelessly for weeks and weeks and weeks and weeks and weeks now. But also John McAdams is on the help desk, responding to all your inquiries and helping people figure out how do I get here? How do I get there? And so forth. So he's there answering all your questions. Uh, those video montages that you've seen every day of the presenters talking about how they do resilience, those have been edited by Jonah David, who's does video editing for us. And all the main presenter videos were edited by my partner, my sweetheart, Sophie Leger. And then Tommy Houseworth has been working with us on a lot of the copy content for the website, and also preparing the resource package, where you'll have lifetime access to all the videos, and you'll also have downloadable transcripts and so forth. So he's been working a lot on that.
Mm-hmm. And then thank you also to the facilitators that have been donating your time on the interactive site. I've hopped into some of this, just amazing. I heard the other day that one of the sessions was the Gubu game, which is one of my favorite authentic relating games, where someone basically gets to step into the role of Gubu. Like, we have these presenter videos of people that have spent their lives researching and studying and understanding a practice, but we all also have some capacity and some knowledge. And so I know some of the games were bringing someone up like on stage, because you don't automatically share your video when you get into the room. You can also just watch a request, but coming up on stage and then being asked questions and chat and answering from their inner guru. And so really inventive stuff happening. And thank you so much to, I think, the folks that have facilitated so far: Megan Rose and Brave Legend of Connect Humanity, Kyla Sokol Ward, Faye Wyatt and Oren Sheffer of the Connection Institute, and Mark Boughton and Peter, of course I'm gonna forget his last name as soon as I have to say it, Peter Benjamin, for helping coordinate all of that. Dan Morris, Shane Orton, Jonathan, Aaron Hickok today. So we've got, and Kyle Zamchek of Listening Lab. So we've got some really amazing facilitators that have led so far, and some incredible practices coming up. So thank you to all of you for giving your time.
Yeah, thank you so much. I mean, these are really some of the best facilitators in the world. And so thank you so much for donating your time. And please get over there and at least watch what they're doing, but even better, jump in and engage with it. And I really also want to give a shout out to, especially to Geoff Crum, who's producing the whole interactive summit. And it's a big job, and he's back there making it all work. So thank you so much, Geoff. And thank you to Sara and everything you're doing. It's a delight to do this co-hosting with you every day, and I look forward to checking in with each other throughout the day on the summit. Sara will be on at 2:00 Eastern time in the interactive summit, so you can just check in with her there and see what's going on. And then we'll be here again live tomorrow morning at 10 a.m. Eastern time, just like we will every day of the summit.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, thanks, Fleet, and thanks for your time and dedication and belief in making all of this work.
Thank you. Thank you, Sara. Okay, and thank you all, and jump and enjoy today, and we'll see you online.